Hello, so this is Joanna Bristow-Watkins from Harmony Healing, and today I'm at the Shrouds of the Somme exhibition, which is in Queen Elizabeth Park near Stratford, London, and it's pretty amazing. I'm just going to turn the camera around to show you the exhibition. So here we are. This is 72,300 and something, I think, shrouds, which are representing all of the people who died at the Somme and were missing, so their bodies were never found and recovered and repatriated or even given a named grave. So this is for all, if you like, the unrecovered bodies from just the Battle of the Somme, and these are only the British and Commonwealth missing soldiers, not even obviously all of the other nationalities that were involved. So it's pretty thought-provoking. Originally, Rob Heard, who's the artist who created these shrouds, created 19,240 to represent the, believe it or not, amazing number of British and Commonwealth soldiers who died on the first day of the Somme, which was the 1st of July 2016. Let me just go right in on the shrouds. I can't go any closer than that, I don't think. But that was the original thinking behind it, was to represent all of those. I mean, it's just so unbelievable to think that nearly 20,000 British and Commonwealth soldiers died on the first day of the Somme, the 1st July 1916. I think I might have said 2016 earlier. That was the 100th anniversary, of course. But yeah, 1916. And that didn't even include those who had fatal wounds on the first day and died as a result of their wounds. That literally was the number who died on that first day. And Rob's installation of the shrouds that he created for that were put out in a field at Exeter and later at Bristol. So he's created each of these individually from a sort of malleable dummy type thing, I believe, that he then wrapped individually in a shroud. And to start with, he was looking at a list of the missing and focusing on each person's name when he built the shroud to represent them, so it was all very personally done. And with such a warm reception to the idea, he ended up extending it and creating these 72,000 to represent all of those British and Commonwealth soldiers who died throughout the Somme. Went on for about 6 months, I believe. Anyway, so astounding stuff. And you can see here at the back of the field we've got the building, the helter-skelter building that was built for the Olympics, and apparently we can go up there and see the view from the top, which we might do in a minute. But as I say, each one represents an individual missing person, and it's so interesting how each one is, by the nature of it, has been created into a slightly different shape. It's quite hard to focus in. I'm going to have to pan out a little bit more because it's not looking very... It's not easy to focus on them when you're that panned in. But anyway, yes, so each one is actually individually created and might even energetically represent how they died, I guess, although of course the sad truth is that some of them were blown to pieces. It's about the size of it. Anyway, what I will just say briefly is that Fiona, my sister Fiona, does actually know Rob Heard. She's known him for many years, and he's developed this project as a therapeutic project for himself as well, because he is a very, very talented designer. He used to create garden bespoke arches, metalwork and so on, and he's built garden forts and so on. That's how Fiona knew him originally, and after an accident he was unable to do that anymore, and so this became his therapy, if you like. And he spent probably 3 years or more creating these. I mean, having created the 19,240 for 2016, which was the 100th anniversary of the first day of the Somme, 1st July, as I said, he then went on to create all these others, and he spent pretty much all his waking hours, I think, building them over the last 2 years. So just looking at them, focusing on them, giving thanks for these selfless people who gave their lives, I'm sure not understanding at all what they were doing at the time. They certainly signed up for the war not having any idea of what their conditions were going to be like or anything else. So to see it laid out in this way is very evocative. And as Sunday of this week just gone by was the 11th 2018, which adds up to another 11, so triple 11, plus the 100th anniversary at the end of the First World War. It's a very important time for us to give thanks to these individuals who gave their lives, and to help their energetic souls, if you like, which were never repatriated or never even recovered and buried properly, but left where they fell, sometimes in pieces, as we've sadly revealed. Then it's a wonderful time to invoke the angel of time, which is F. F is the angel who enables us to bend time and space. Or if you're an Egypt fan like I am, you can bring in Tahuti, otherwise known as Thoth or Hermes Trismegistus. We can invoke him as well, ask for them to bend time and space, and for us to send love and gratitude back to these individuals over 100 years ago who died. And I'm so delighted to say that Rob Heard, who is the fantastic artist who's created this installation, as it's known as, is here to talk to us. Fantastic. So, Rob, thank you for
Not at all.
talking. Lovely. Tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind it.
It sort of came like a lot of things do. It came from adversity. I had a car crash and busted my hands up, so it sort of simmered up from that dark time post-surgery that you get. So it sort of came up from there. It's just really about trying to represent a number, physicalise a number. That was the gist of it.
Well, I remember I said earlier on my little live I've just done that you created 19,240 originally.
Yeah, originally, that was right, yeah.
Yes, and that was such a evocative display, even with that number, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, I thought that was a lot, as we all did, you know. I thought that was quite something, but this is just extraordinary. The issue is I only deal with the one in front of me for year after year. So to see this huge, this small, intense thing to turn into such a huge and monolithical lump, it's quite something.
Well, I remember reading on one of the press releases that originally you did look at the name and focus on the name as you were creating each shroud. And that must have been very, very intense and emotional.
Yeah, I mean, I did that. If I'm honest, I did that initially, but I just couldn't maintain that level of intensity. It was a bit too. I took the coward's way out and just would do a few in a number, and then I'd cross them off the books and read their names aloud. But I couldn't quite handle doing them that closely.
I can quite understand that. And I think for a lot of people what's so amazing about this is because you focused on all of those individuals whose bodies were never recovered and buried, it is now giving them a personal identification, even if you weren't focusing on each name.
I think that's right. I mean, I think certainly a lot of relatives are coming up, and the emotion is incredible that these things still evoke a century down the road, you know. And I think it's testament to us really that we still feel that. I think it's good to a society that we're still remembering people like this.
And that people still find it moving even 100 years later, and they can't even possibly remember the individual.
Very much so. I mean, ultimately we are all ashes and dust, you know, and once the photographs of us that people remember, once they've gone and you're just another photograph. But I think for these fellas, it's just reinventing their lives just that little bit one more time.
And bringing them home.
In a very small sense it is. Just laying them on this ground again, I think is what it's about, just to bring them back in a small way, that one more time. And to have their names read aloud, that's not going to happen to you or I. In 100 years' time, have your name read aloud by a stranger?
No,
that's pretty
true.
Cool.
Is that all happening in the background now as we're watching?
I think, names are being read now all the time, which is it's such an important part of it. Being read by volunteers, which again, is such a cool thing.
Oh, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about how you set them out?
Well, it was set up by, we had some fantastic people, some surveyors from a firm called Volker Fitzpatrick, and we had 35 guys from the East Anglicans, or from the Royal Anglicans, sorry, and they set about using it. And it's an old method that I've used several times, just basically long tapes with marks on them. You put a tape out, you put the mark down where the tape is. and you just do that again and again and again for 3 days.
That's how long it took to set them out.
That's how long it took, but and we've got to pick them up as well, which is going to be no slouch.
True. Okay, but obviously 3 days to lay them down is a lot different to how many years it's taken you to make them.
Yes, it has. It's been it's an odd one, and to look down on these individually and realising that I shared a moment with these figures, you know, always alone. Always, it was always late at night, but it wasn't, you know. But yeah, I think it's a very odd feeling looking at them like this. It really is.
Can I just have a little view of you with them?
Yeah, we'll have a go.
Right. Yep. We'll see if we can find you. There we go.
Yep.
Here we are. So here's Rob, and behind him now is. Can you give me the exact number? 72,000.
72,396 plus one.
Is that your demo?
No. The one came about through the judgment of who should be on the list or not. Because it always, you know, I always struggled with the fact that these men would be remembered, not others. So I made one, the extra shroud, which I took to France and I laid on the ground of the Somme, and that's for everybody else. That's for all the both sides, you know, both all nationalities. It's just for everybody.
Oh, what a
which
lovely
I think
gesture.
was really, really important to me.
Well,
and that's the one at the point.
That's the one. That's the pointed one at the end.
Yeah.
I'll have to look down at that. Yeah, we can just see it there through the railings. Okay, because actually our daughter, Scarlett Watkins, she worked at the Commonwealth War Graves last year.
Did she? I met some of the interns there. They're great guys, really passionate,
so
fantastic
moving.
people.
We went over and had a cry.
Yeah, I
can't
had
help
a
it.
good cry out there.
So last question, what are you going to do now that you wake up in the morning and haven't got to do all these?
I don't know. If I'm honest, I really do miss it. I really do miss. I miss being in the company of these men and working with them, and just the muscle memory is so tied into 12, 14 hours a day every single day. There's I'm a bit twitchy.
It's a labour of love. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. No worries at all.
So Joanna Bristow-Watkins from the Queen Elizabeth Park here near Stratford in London, with one of you with the 72,000 odd shrouds representing all the British and Commonwealth soldiers who died during the Somme in the First World War. Over and out.